Well, hello, and thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Tom Seco, and I'm the Business Development Manager with DAS Health. And just wanted to cover a few things before we get started. First, this webinar is going to be recorded, and we will send out a copy of the slides and the recording within the next week after the webinar is over. Everyone's phone will be muted as we go through the webinar. And if you experience any type of audio issues, please use the chat box to let us know so that we can resolve the issues. Wanted to share some exciting news with you. We, as iTentive, are now part of DAS Health. We merged together as an organization on November 1st. DAS Health is a leading provider of IT and management solutions and is a trust consultant to many physician groups, hospitals, and healthcare systems across North America. By combining the skills and expertise of both companies, we're now able to provide even more support, value, and solutions to your practice and to your health center. So we continue to look forward to serving you. We're still here to help you as an organization. We still have the same passion as we had in the past, which is to provide solutions to our healthcare provider partners to help them improve the patient care, help you improve, maintain a financially healthy practice, and to enhance the patient experience. We continue to specialize in NextGen and continue to put together solutions for you as well. We have an upcoming webinar on this Thursday, March 10th, where we'll cover how to enter in multiple encounters for a single patient visit, how to streamline that process, I should say, through a single screen. So that's our multiple encounter billing manager software, and we have a webinar coming up on that on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. So join us if you get a chance. So with that, I wanted to get started with a quick poll to take you through. And with this particular one, wanted to get an idea of how many hours you typically spend on processing medical record requests. If you could just pick which one you choose, that would be quite helpful. So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds, and then I'll go ahead and close this off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So go ahead and share those results with you. And as you see, half is 5 to 10 hours a week, and the other half 11 to 20 hours per week. So that we'll do another one. This one is, what is the volume of patient medical histories you typically generate each week? And what that is, less than 10, 11 to 25, 26 to 50, 51 to 100, or more than 100. Go ahead and give you a couple more seconds. And we'll close this off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll go ahead and share those results with you and see what that looks like. So it's about, a third, 26 to 50 a week, 51 to 100 a week, and then a quarter of you more than 100. And then we have one more. What frequency do you typically process medical record requests? And that is it a daily task for you? Is it a weekly task for you? Is it a monthly task for you? Or is it done upon request? Immediately upon request. So I'll go ahead and give you a couple more seconds and close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll go ahead and close it and I'll share those results with you. It's about 65% daily task for you and the remaining 27% weekly task for you and 9% immediately upon request. So thank you for doing that. Give us all some insight into how much of an activity this is for us and how extensive it is as a task for us to do. Oops. Okay, so now let's go back to today's presentation on how to efficiently process medical record requests, such as insurance audits and legal requests. As I mentioned at the end of the presentation, we'll open up the floor for any questions that you might have. We'll answer any questions at the end. But if you have a question during the webinar, go ahead and enter them into the questions area of the webinar control panel whenever they come up. And again, for any audio clarity purposes, everyone's phone will be muted throughout the entire webinar. And again, if you have any audio issues, please use the chat box to let us know. So with that, as I mentioned, my name's Tom Seco, and I'm the Business Development Manager with iTentive. And with me is Joe Scholes, and Joe's our Product Solutions Director. Joe's team develops all of the products for us, and he will take you through a demonstration of the ChartGuard OnDemand software. This is an agenda of what we're going to cover today. I'll just go through a couple slides to give you an overview of ChartGuard OnDemand and what you're going to see in the demonstration. I'll turn the webinar over to Joe, and he'll take you through a live demonstration of the product. And as I mentioned, we'll answer any questions that you have. So a question that usually gets asked is, why do practices and health centers use ChartGuard OnDemand? It's really, as showed in the poll, to automate a time-consuming manual process. With the amount of time and that you spend on the process, and it becomes a daily or a weekly task for you. You want to automate that as much as possible where you can. And when we do the use ChartGuard OnDemand, you use it when insurances request insurance audit requests or review requests. Attorneys usually submit requests for legal purposes. Individual patients request their medical histories for many different reasons. They're going to another provider, or maybe they're going down south or changing locations for a period of 4 or 6 months, and they want to bring their medical histories with them as well as they change residences for a while. Third-party authorized medical record processors have a request. You can use it for sharing medical histories with co-managing providers. And then in cases where physicians are leaving the practice, they want to take medical histories for some of the patients that they serve as well. So these are just some examples of how ChartGuard OnDemand can be used in automating the process for you. There are most likely many more uses of it, but this is an example some examples of how it can be used. So how does it work? Well, it's a NextGen add-on program that gets installed in your environment. It has an interactive user interface that you'll see in the demonstration. You can selectively choose charts to generate for a single patient or for a range of patients. You can control the depth of history. It generates a PDF file, so it's easy to store that file on a USB drive or print that record. It can be, if it's in PDF format, it can be easily read on any type of a device, whether that is a laptop, a desktop, a smartphone, a tablet. And another nice feature of the software and how it runs, it can run against the report database, so it will not impact the production environment. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe, and Joe's going to take you through a demonstration.
All right, great. Thank you, Tom. We're going to go ahead and switch machines here, so you may get a little bit of flicker as we move over to the demo environment. Again, if you have any problems with what you're seeing not matching what I'm talking about or any other issues, please just chat us in the chat box here on the webinar control panel. So as Tom mentioned in the slide, the application for ChartGuard OnDemand is a NextGen add-on. And this gets launched out of your practice management, and only people who have the appropriate security, i.e. the right group membership in NextGen, will be able to see this and go ahead and launch it. The user interface is designed to be really straightforward, and we're always looking for new ideas of different things we can add to it, but what we're seeing today is really the culmination of working with practices on those types of requests that Tom mentioned earlier in the slide. So I'm going to go ahead here and do a quick search and launch a chart generation, and then I'm going to come back and show you how all this works. But I at least want to go ahead and get these all requested so that they're off building while we're talking about this. So in the upper left here is the search criteria. And this is where you're going to find your targeted person that you're looking for, first name, last name. You can confirm it with the DOB. If you have a report of various numbers and that's what you're keying in to look it up, you can go ahead and do that. So you can do it targeted down to a single individual, right? As Tom mentioned, you have a snowbird coming by who needs their medical record. You can go ahead and provide that for them on a PDF within a short period of time here. Also, there's the case where you have a provider that needs their information. Maybe they're leaving the practice and you contracted with them so they'd be able to take their patients along with them. Or maybe there's some legal action against that provider and you need to pull the histories for that provider. So that is definitely available to you as an option. We see insurance audits quite often, so we have the financial class available, so you can pick from your list of available financial classes. These are just the ones available in our demo database here, but your list will probably be a lot longer than ours. And you can use a combination of these too if you're looking for a particular provider and financial class together. Now, normally on these audits, you care about if the patient has been seen in the last several months. And that's what these date checkboxes here take care of, is we're looking for someone who meets this criteria and has been seen within the last 3 or 6 months, depending on the audit itself. Now, when you have a hit for someone who meets that criteria, you can further constrain it and say, you know what, let's go ahead and only pull the charts either from that range or maybe from a much broader range. If they've been seen in the last month, let's pull the last 6 months worth of history for that patient, that type of thing. And also we can further filter, again up here, we're just looking for who's the provider who owns the patient, right? The primary care provider. Here you can go ahead and filter it further if you have several providers in your practice who have seen the patient and you only want to pull it for a particular provider's encounters, you can limit that down so you're only seeing those encounters where the selected provider has seen the patient, where he's the rendering or she's the rendering on that. So that's what happens here in the upper left. This is your search criteria. We're going to go ahead and get a population of patients and take some action. Now, the contents of what we're going to put in the PDF file can also be defined. Maybe you have a different set of contents for your legal requests versus your patient requests versus your insurance requests. So over here on the right, we have a set of different criteria that are available, a set of different sections that can be in the PDF file that I'm about to show you in a few minutes. So if we look, we have demographics, we'd probably want that, allergies, medications. We can pull in documents. So these are both your EHR generated documents and documents that have been brought into ICS, either through HL7 or scanned directly in. So you can go ahead and pick the groups of documents or types of documents that you want out of that. And you can pick as many or as few of these that you deem appropriate. If we pick on one of these, we can also limit the range of what we're going to pull. So maybe it's the last 5 of these documents, or within the last 6 months, the documents that are produced. Because in Document Manager / ICS, sometimes the documents aren't tied to an encounter, right, which has a service date on it. So this way you can go ahead and constrain that. Because again, if you just need to produce the last several months worth of history for the patient, we don't want to generate their whole 10 years they've been with the practice and have you have to call through that. So this way you can go ahead and define this, define what's going to be included in the chart, and define the depth of what's going to be in that chart too. So in this case, we did our search. I looked for all patients with the last name test. I used my default chart definition that's up here, which is the only one we have defined here at the moment. And what I can do now is see what's been going on while we've been talking. So I can do a select on these, and then I can go ahead and say, you know what, let's see what's going on. And while we've been talking, these requests went out and were processed by the ChartGuard engine. And again, as Tom mentioned, the ChartGuard engine can run against your production database. More often we see clients running it against their report database because the 2 hours you've been open today versus the backup on your report server from yesterday really doesn't make a big difference in these types of occasions, these types of audits. So we give you the ability to set it up during configuration. You pick which one you want to have it run against. If you're doing big chart pulls all the time, we definitely steer you toward the report server, but it's really your call and we'll work with you in either way. So this is the list of charts that were created based on the criteria. If I want, I can go ahead right here and view these charts. So I can go ahead, right mouse on it and pull it up and show you what it looks like here. So I included most of the sections. So each of the sections that has data in it will be brought into this PDF file and will be made available. And again, this includes documents that were part of it too. Now, if we're using this electronically and we want to skip around, we also take the time to bookmark each of the sections so that you can easily jump between the different areas and documents that are part of this. And again, if this patient had ICS images, we'd have those down here too, and they'd all be stamped and you could click and move between those. If you're doing a large scale pull and you want to be able to move these off either to a third-party site where they're going to be hosted and secured, or onto an encrypted secure drive, whether that's a physical hard drive or a USB stick, you can make available the folder where these land, and then someone can drag these out and move them over to where they need to be transferred to the other party. So again, that's your call. We can go ahead and do this either way. So this is just the PDF files, and as Tom mentioned, the great thing about PDF files is that they're readable on virtually any computing device. So whether you're giving it to the patient or an insurance company or a law firm, you know they'll be able to open these up and go ahead and read them easily. So this is ChartGuard OnDemand. It's a user interface that sits on top of our ChartGuard engine. Historically, our ChartGuard engine has really been a business continuity solution where it generates these charts based on the appointment schedule. But the ChartGuard OnDemand interface gives you the ability to define what patient population you're looking for identify those patients, and submit the chart requests. And then within several minutes, those charts will be generated and be available either through the user interface or in the folder if you need to do a bulk transfer of those charts. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Tom.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. The what we're going to do next is answer any questions that you have. So if you have any questions, enter them into the questions box. And with regards to next steps, if you have further interest in looking at ChartGuard OnDemand more in depth, giving you an opportunity to ask questions as it specifically pertains to your practice, to your health center, to your specific processes, we can schedule time to talk through that. If you would like to see another demonstration of the product, we could do that as well. So with that, we'll answer any questions that you might have. And one question that we have coming in is, what is involved in the training?
I'll go ahead and run with that one, Tom. The training is very straightforward. We'll go ahead and get this set up in your environment. We'll do a couple test pulls of charts just to make sure everything's wired in correctly and performing correctly. And then we'll take you through the user interface, and we'll take you through if you have several chart definitions that you need, as we discussed, maybe one for patients, one for legal, one for insurances. We can help get you all that set up with you. The installation is hands-on. We work with you remotely via your favorite remote tool, and we'll help you and your technical staff get this installed and get it going for the people who need access to it.
Question that came in, can these audits automatically create a PHI log entry?
That is a feature we are actively working on, so that will be coming up in a future release this year of ChartGuard OnDemand, is the entry in the PHI log that we've created the chart.
And yes, we will send a copy of this demo for anybody to take a look at. Along the lines of the PHI, since it is PHI, do we need to do anything special?
For the PHI, we recommend working with your compliance officer that the PC that we're using to generate the charts have its hard drive encrypted. Most practices today have the majority of their computer hard drives encrypted, just because we're all receiving email attachments or downloading Excel files or CSV files that have patient data in them. So the stuff that we used to 10 years ago advise on, and many people were just starting to do it, it's now something that most people do. If you're handing off the charts to someone else, you want to check with your compliance officer and your procedure for tracking that chain of custody. But really, for the most part, ChartGuard OnDemand is very easy to install and get going and work with your environment.
Okay. One last question. One last question that's here. Are these patient histories that are generated by OnDemand left lingering out in the system for any reason?
The files will remain in the folder where the charts get generated, so that you can go ahead and pull them, and then when you're done, you can go ahead and delete them from that folder. The system, while they're in the folder, and when you access it from the user interface here, it'll go ahead and track when they've been accessed and by who. Additionally, if you want, you can turn on Windows file system auditing for that folder, so that any access that happens outside of the user interface here gets logged to the Windows event log, and you have that available to you.
Okay, that looks like that was the last question that came in. As I mentioned, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us and I'll answer any questions that you have. Again, if you would like to have a more in-depth discussion about how ChartGuard OnDemand would work within your environment, don't hesitate to contact us and we'll talk you through how it would fit within your organization. So with that, we'll go ahead and close down the webinar if there's no more questions, and have you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much
everyone.
for joining us.